All right, so before we were rolling, you said you shot the sound of your film with an iPhone. Was that the final audio, or did you go in and do ADR, or how did you process the audio?
Well, let me reverse that statement.
Okay.
But I would say like maybe 40% of it was iPhone.
Okay.
The rest was like a whatever Tascam kind of field recorder type deal. But the audio was kind of terrible, and my sound mixer Mike Compatielli, Empress Studio out of Philly, he saved that film. He did a 5.1 surround screening. I think the version you saw was a stereo.
Okay.
But
sound was brilliant nonetheless.
But he did a really great job, and we did a lot of work. We probably did about 6 months straight of sound mixing and fixing it up. There's a few ADR things. Probably one scene.
I think I know what it was. I couldn't tell you which scene because the movie.
When
just
they sell
moved.
the pill, when they
the
sell
pills,
the,
yeah,
sell the
because
pills,
it's
yeah,
moving
yeah.
at a breakneck speed. But like I was like, oh, I wonder because it's so clear.
Yeah. That was the only one because I think that one was iPhone. It's just like it was too far away, and then we were in a big warehouse, and sound was just like moving, and just like, you know.
That's wild.
But and those little lavs, those little road lavs that connect to the iPhone, we use some of those too.
Okay.
Nice.
Where I would just have like the actor just be like, all right, go to voice memos, plug the thing in, and then like lob them up basically. So
that's wild. I love this style of filmmaking.
Yeah.
So can you introduce yourself and then the name of your movie and sort of roughly what you think the movie's about?
My name is Anthony Curry. I'm the writer, director, editor, producer. I shot the thing. I paid for it. I cooked food for everybody. I drove. Fucking
pure
I was the bodyguard
for.
I had to bail some people out of jail during it. But the film's called Trap. It's an acronym for the Real Asbury Park. It's it's basically an amalgamation of crime stories about Asbury Park, New Jersey, where I grew up, and it's basically a prisoner serving a life sentence, looking back at his life.
Yeah. I thought it was brilliant, man. I got out of it and I was sitting next to my friend, and I was like, this reminds me of like City of God if it was shot like Natural Born Killers and it was directed by Harmony Korine.
Yeah, I like that.
Which is like,
Yo,
by the way,
can you write that down so I can put it on a poster or something, dude? That's
I will
cool.
send that to you.
All right, cool.
Because that's what it is, man. It's like a crazy film. It's
Thank
nuts.
you.
So what was sort of like the inception point? Because I know sort of some of the backstory for the film, but a lot of people aren't going to know the backstory.
The inception. So I wrote the flick when I was like 16. I was sort of living in this world, and Trap existed before the movie existed. Like Trap was kind of like the crew we ran with. Like we kind of called ourselves Trap. So Trap has been a thing. Like people have Trap tattooed on their skin. Like Trap is like beyond just the movie. It's like a sort of like a movement or something. But yeah, I wrote it when I was 16, sort of living in that world. And Malik, who was in the film, he just got out of doing like a 7-year bid. And we were sitting in the house. He came home, and like I kind of got this idea, and all this crazy stuff was happening around us. So, and then I didn't start production until I was like 19, around 19. And then it took like, I think like 3 or 4 years to shoot. And then, COVID happened. There were some personal things in life that slowed the film down. But yeah, it was a nightmare of a movie. I mean, you guys know, you both make movies, like, you know how it is.
Yeah, I mean, I was 19, I did a feature, and it was not this, man. You are on another level. Thank you. So what are you...
How old are you now?
I'm 26.
Okay.
26. So I think it was like 7 years from conception, or I don't know.
A long time coming.
In
your whole later teen years into your 20s, that's,
And you see me grow in the film, too. It's like you see, and it worked out in the favor, because the film was only supposed to take place, like, originally it was like a week, and then I changed it to like a few months, and then it pushed to like almost like a 5 or 6 year story of these characters, but like us aging in it, because a lot of my friends I grew up with also were aging in it too, so like it almost worked. And like the storytelling of being able to like, I was always obsessed with this idea of like deconstructing narrative and like something that like feels like liquid, and if it like moves through you almost like a drug experience or something, where it's like it's not just like a typical ABC story. Like I hate plot. Like I never really was obsessed with movies with plot. I always loved story, and like, I don't always remember the whole movie, but I remember certain scenes of movies. So my idea was like to make this sort of like tapestry of cinema, like where images were like falling from the sky, but under this fragment of the riots of the 1970s that happened in Asbury Park. So this whole movie kind of like when you're watching it almost feels like a riot, and like I wanted that to sort of like mimic the story of like this town has always had a dark cloud over it since these like riots of the 1970s in Asbury Park, which burned down most of the city and it became a ghost town. And just now it had a resurgence, kind of gentrification, and now the east side of town is like beautiful. It's like it's a beautiful place to go. Like, I mean, I wouldn't cross the tracks, but like that's where I'm from, like on the other side. But like if you stick on the east side of Asbury, it's very nice now. It's very beautiful. Wild. People go to that's like the summertime. Oh. If you're in Jersey, like that's the place to go to, you know.
I'm not from around here, so I don't know all these locations. I don't know.
Well, that's where
like the Jersey Shore. So you ever seen the show The Jersey Shore, Snooki and shit?
Yeah.
So we're like a little above that. We're like 20 minutes from where that was up the Jersey coast, like right on the shore.
Or Bruce Springsteen.
Oh, nice.
Greetings from Asbury Park. You know his first album?
Oh shoot.
That's
that makes sense.
Yeah. So all that talk when he's talking about blue collared, you know, that's that life. It's just like a kind of ghetto, almost like a cowboy town. Like it feels like the Wild West in certain parts of it.
Okay. So the history of it. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Asbury Park. I mean, Asbury Park has had such like a roller coaster ride, and it's funny because the movie almost feels like a roller coaster ride, where it's like it's had these like resurgence, like in the 70s it was like the hot spot of like music. 60s the hot spot. Led Zeppelin turned down playing Woodstock because they got offered to play Convention Hall in Asbury Park because that was the place to fucking play.
Wow.
And they were like, fuck Woodstock, we're going to Asbury Park. So it's just like always had. I mean, The Sopranos shot there when it was like a ghost town. The music scene was like, it was just huge. It's just like and wild things happen. They say like the 4th of July every like 20 years or 30 years in Asbury Park, something really terrible happens. And it's just weird, like, and it's nicknamed Dark City because it was the murder capital of New Jersey for years. It's just now like getting lower on the list but it's still bad. Like, and it's shit that like. The shit that happens, like, they don't put it on the news. It's not like kids I grew up with get killed all the time, and it's not something that, like, they put on the news. And it's crazy. It was a town, like, you know, the West Side when I grew up, it was still a ghost town. So, like, you know, a lot of the kids I grew up with, they learned how to, like, cook crack but before they learned how to, like, tie their own shoes, you know, or how to load a gun or something. So it's, like, it's real stories. But I don't ever want to make any like political statement with my films. Like I never want to make a film that's like I don't really have anything to say as a filmmaker. I'm just trying to like tell stories and like let the images fall, and then like whatever you guys make out of it, out of what you see is like you're right. Like there's no wrong to filmmaking. I always feel like so. I always want my movies to feel like something you can't define it, like unmarginalized, like you can't define.
Are you trying to give any perspectives, like people's perspectives?
Definitely. I think showing like highlighting stories that haven't been told, you know, about my friend Nasir, who was in a Virginia prison, and he has eczema, and he was selling his cookies for 2 squirts of lotion, and that he said that in the movie, and that's a real story. Like a lot of these stories are real.
That was such a great scene when he said that, because I have eczema, and I was like, holy shit, like that's just that type of specificity that like if you didn't grow up or you're not even thinking about it, it's like I was like, oh my god, you're right, like if I went to prison I'd be fucked, like you know,
he was selling his cookies for lotion, like
crazy. And
it's funny when he says it because he's a character and he says it, but like
in real life
that shit's like he was down bad for a while. A lot of these stories, you know, it's hardcore shit. These are a lot of hardcore dudes in this movie. This isn't no like, you know, these aren't just actors. No. I mean, some of them are like the Sister Thieves, Mercy and Audrey are the characters' name. They're both like actresses. They were great. J.D. Brown, who's Mr. Columbo, he's an actor in L.A. But my Uncle Jim, who's not my uncle, he's just my dad's really good friend, James Slendorn. He played Detective Bronson, and he's just an iron worker. But he's sort of the person who got me into the believing movies are possible to make, because he used to make little VHS movies and stuff with us as kids, and he was always a performer and always just a character and a very interesting person, but in his voice he's just a presence. He's a certain presence and just a really solid human being. His character in this movie is fucking despicable, and it's the complete opposite of who he is as a person, but he's not an actor, and he gives a performance that's like, I think one of the greatest performances, and I'm not just saying that because it's my movie.
No, it's great.
I think it's like a really solid for somebody who's not an actor to give a performance. Honestly, everybody in this movie really like impressed, like blew me away. Directing them was like a privilege, but that's what they say. Like 90% of directing is casting it, right?
Oh yeah,
it's casting it, right?
It's interesting because you say that you're not specifically trying to push anything or push any stories or get anything, but you know, I keep hearing that the film itself is giving so much perspective. It's giving so much. What kind of impact do you think like this film can do?
That's a really good question, and hopefully I don't fuck up the answer.
No, there's no wrong answer.
Yeah, I think you know, I wanted this movie to play in the malls. Like I want this movie to play next to Chick-fil-A and shit. And I think stories like this, like I was saying earlier, like being able to like show that like this world exists, and maybe like I don't know, somebody has to start talking about how like we can get these kids to like not like I don't know, like be in the world, being able to like, because a kid who grew up in that world has no choice. If he's, you know, growing up and his parents are gangbangers, what else does he know? That's what he knows.
Yeah.
So I don't want to get any too like political about shit, but
No,
yeah,
but
I think
there's real people in those situations.
Right. I think the impact of the movie. I think it could be important to see a world like this, especially now because Asbury is kind of gentrified. It's like on the other side of the tracks, like Asbury's trying to kick out that side of the tracks. They're trying to they're trying to gentrify the whole neighborhood. Yeah. But then you're kicking out the neighborhood cats who've been there for 60 years. Mm-hmm. So it's like that's an issue. That's an issue.
Well, what happens to them? Well,
right. Where do they go? Like, where do they go from there? We move to another ghetto? Like, what is that going to do? Like, why don't we try to build everybody up or make some kind of... The art... I'm close with the Asbury Park Art Council, and they're doing things to try to bring up kids in the area and just make them feel like they have, like, some sort of hope or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, that's great.
I feel like I already said too much about that type of stuff, though. Because I don't ever want... I don't have anything like... I'm not trying to change the world or anything.
But it's not like
this,
political.
You know?
These are lives.
Right.
You know these people, and so I think the discussion around their lives is going to sound political to people who aren't living it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I think just by stating it, it's going to feel political, but it's people's lives. You know? So I wouldn't censor yourself about politics.
You said yourself that film has an impact. So that's why I found really interesting. You're saying you're not trying to do anything about it,
right?
And that's really cool. You are very humble with your film.
Thank you.
But I could see that you care deeply about the people who are involved with the film and the people that you're trying to portray in the film.
Right.
I think that
because I don't want to pass judgment on them. You know what I mean?
Like negative judgment.
I don't want to pass judgment. It's like somebody could see this film and see gangbangers and shit and think like, oh, they're terrible, they're awful people. But like somebody else could see the movie and be like, nah, that's just all they know. You know, that's all. There was no other option. That was like what they grew up in. It's their surroundings. It's what they're surrounded by. You know.
I love what you're trying to do on it. That's beautiful because.
But I think that the movie can speak for it rather than me talk. Because who am I? I mean, even though I'm from there, it's still different. Like it's different. You know what I'm saying? And I was kind of in it, but I don't know. You know.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
I mean, what do you want for those people?
Hopefully they could build careers off this movie, you know, and become actor. I think everybody in the film is like could be performers and like, you know, could be working in major Hollywood films, truthfully.
Where do you want to land? Do you want to be doing major Hollywood films, or do you want to be staying at this level? Or?
I mean, I'm a desperado, bro. I'll just take a gig just to take a fucking, you know, just put some money in my pocket or something. Nah, that's not true. I have a very artistic integrity. I turned down a movie recently because it's just something I couldn't write or. It's weird, like when you, like a work for hire thing is so much different than something you like create for yourself. And I would make a movie. I don't care if it's for $100 or $100,000. Like I feel like I'm still gonna make movies either way. There's no real like. I'm kind of gonna die on the saddle of doing this, whether it, you know, is seen to the masses or if I'm showing it to you guys in the kitchen or something. It doesn't matter to me. It's all the same.
This is your first movie.
First feature.
First feature movie.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Do you think you're gonna make more within the subject matter?
Well, next I want to kind of laugh because this movie's very like kind of nihilistic and dark. So I think the next one's gonna be like a kind of dark comedy about degenerate horse gamblers, which Trap has a little bit of. But
you said you're already thinking ahead. You already have the next one in mind.
Yeah, we're gonna do it in the next few, in like September or November.
Okay.
But then announcing shit, you always never know because movies are so fucking. So it's like you could say, "Oh, we're doing it in November," and then it's like but that's what we're talking about doing next. And then I have like 2 shorts that I made that need like sound mixing, and then I was gonna do 2 shorts to test out this Alexa. My friend gave me an Alexa, so I was gonna. He didn't give it to me, but it's kind of like permanent loan. Yeah, permanent loan for a little while. So I'm gonna do that to test and see if I can run and gun another feature. We got a little bit of money attached to this, so
good.
We'll see what's happening with it.
So are you shopping around with this movie? Maybe trying to get something for the next script?
What you mean with Trap? Selling Trap or selling the script to get money?
Well, Trap's already out, so my assumption is you already have you're already on a path for the festival run and what you're going to do with it.
Right.
And tell me if I'm wrong, of course.
Yeah. We don't have distribution yet. Trap isn't.
Are you looking for distribution?
We've been talking to some companies, but yeah, we're still out there looking, and people are we're talking to people. And
is there any specific direction for Trap that you want?
A theatrical. I would love to do a theatrical, even if it's a small one, New York or LA or something, in like underground cinemas. I feel like this is like a good like midnight movie. I feel like this is a movie like you should watch at nighttime, like midnight movie style. Like, is this festival your first time you're showing it? No, this is like the 7th festival.
Oh, sick.
We premiered at the Museum of the Moving Image in Queens in November. That was the first screening, and we done. Yeah, it's been winning awards and stuff. We won the Auteur Cinema Award at Queens World, which also the only person they gave that award to was Melvin Van Peebles, who I don't know if you know, but he did Sweet.
So
Sweet
you
Bags
and Melvin
Band
Van Peebles
are the only people
That's
who have
good
that
company,
award.
man.
I think there's one other guy who got the award, who I don't know his name, but
yeah, you're not doing bad. That sounds great.
So me and Melvin Van Peebles are rocking. R.I.P. too. That was he's one of the greatest filmmakers. I love him.
Yeah, he's amazing.
He's cool.
I mean, I've been hearing stories even before I met you. I had a couple of people, Patrick, Patrick Devaney,
I love Patrick.
Manny and Lindsay have been talking about you and telling me the story. It's like, this kid you got to meet, he came in, he was like 15, 16 when we first met him, like this little kid, and we were like, yeah, sure, you want to make movies? Yeah, go ahead. And then now you're back. It's been, you said you're 26 now.
Yeah, 26.
So it's been about 10 years.
10 plus, I think. I was 13 when I met them.
You're 13 when you met
13,
them.
So plus 10.
Okay, yeah. So you made you wrote the script when you were 6? Wait,
16.
You said 16.
16, yeah. Well, I actually had made a feature film when I was 13, and I was in this, like a Mad Movie magazine, this French magazine, and they called me the youngest director like in history at that time. I think it's beat now, but at that time, the movie never got released or anything. It was like a slasher comedy thing, but it never. And Manny is in it.
Oh, wow. Really? Oh, yeah. He mentioned he was working on it. You were asking him questions and such. The way he was describing it's like I couldn't let some 16 at the time.
Yeah.
He's like, I couldn't just let some 16-year-old.
Or no, I was younger. On his own. Yeah, like 14, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, you can't say no to a 14-year-old.
No.
Like, at that point.
Especially one this talented.
I mean, at that point, it's like it's might as well steal candy from a baby sort of thing. Like you're just gonna disappoint him, and you don't want to disappoint a kid at that age.
Exactly.
And you're making movies. He loves movies.
Right.
All the people have been talking to me about you. They're all saying the same thing. It's like, look out for this kid.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Why do you think that is?
Why do you think they're saying that?
Yeah, why do you think?
Well, I mean, I always say
I know why. They've been telling me, but I want to hear from you.
That's a really good question. I think it's because, like, I always say I don't know what came first, like being born or making movies. So, like, I don't know. Like, I kind of came out the womb making films, man. Like, I don't know, my dad was kind of a cinephile, but, just, like, kind of like a blue-collar worker. He's just, like, he doesn't work in the industry. I don't really have any family that worked in the industry or anything, so... I don't know, it just always seemed right there. It just seemed like the only thing, like, you go from, like, a guitar to a skateboard to a basketball. then you're like, maybe I'm not that good at that stuff. And then you find filmmaking as like your forte. But I was always making. I found a video me and my sister made when we were like, I was 6, I think, and it was like a little robbery. It was called The Robbery. It was like me robbing her, or something. It was like, or she was robbing me. Yeah, it was cool.
So what started that?
I think just having a VHS camera. I don't know. I think my dad, the way he watched movies and like appreciating that, I would see him and the way he showed me Jaws and Rocky or E.T. or Willy Wonka or just the major whatever great perfect cinema movies that I call perfect cinema. He showed me a lot of those, and it's like, I don't know, the way he reacted to it, I always felt like movies were such a higher, it's like, oh, the cats who are doing that, like, I gotta jump on, like, the way they're affecting me and the way I'm reacting to it, and like, yeah, Willy Wonka, I used to run the VHS tape till like it didn't work anymore because I was like, rewind it, I want to watch it again. Rewind it, I want to watch it. And my company is called Pure Imagination Pictures.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, you get your first feature out. You already have a production company. That's
trying.
You're only 26. That's awesome. I mean, I only started my career in film when I was 27. So that's awesome.
But like we were saying about the Kurosawa thing, like there's no age to it. I just said it on that Q&A.
Yeah.
It was like, there's no age limit to this shit. You know what I'm saying? You could be. I mean, Tarantino was in his 30s when he did Reservoir Dogs. You know, he was trying for years. You know.
Yeah.
And I was like you. I mean, my dad was a filmmaker, so I had a camera in my hand before I could walk. So.
Yeah, that's interesting. Is the cats that like Melvin Van Peebles, his son Mario Van Peebles is the one who did New Jack City. Yeah. So it's like
also amazing.
Like he grew up in and he's in Sweetback, so he grew up on the set, and it was like that's
Yeah.
But he was gonna go to school for like philosophy or something. He was like, fuck it,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
No, I came from a very different household. I mean, it was a very artistic household. Everybody had their thing.
Right.
But filmmaking, music was not sort of part of that, and I sort of like somehow fell into
What kind of
those.
art did they do? Like painting?
My mom was a seamstress. My sister picked up. She was sewing, sort of like on the same vein. She was already brilliant at 8, on the cover magazines or on cover like articles and such, and
so everybody, it was artistic. Yeah,
it was artistic.
Right.
Yeah, my grandfather was a mechanic, owned an auto body shop. My dad too, my uncle too. Sort
like
of a
half
family.
blue collar kind of.
It was sort of like this weird mix.
Right.
I always fell somewhere in the middle.
Right.
Like the reason I got into production in the first place was I was building sets and making costumes.
Right.
I didn't get into sewing like my sister and my mom had, but like I was always sort of around that. I was always building stuff.
Yeah.
And I never knew where I landed until I was 27. I was working in design before that. I was in the fashion industry.
Oh shit.
Doing industrial design, box designing for. And then
you got that hit of filmmaking, man. You're addicted, because it really is. It feels like an addiction most of the time. Like a lot of time, I'm definitely addicted because I'm willing to die on the saddle doing this shit. Like if it makes me destitute, if I lose all my friends or whatever from it or whatever, it's like I'm gonna die doing it, and at least I'm making movies or something.
I think that
just might be a sick way to think about life. Like I don't know, is that a sick way to think?
I talk to a lot of filmmakers, and I often the thing I often say is I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy.
Yeah.
But if you love it and you know you have to do it, then you have to do it.
Right.
And you know what? Like the same way I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy, the feeling I feel when I'm not making movies, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. You know what I mean?
I'm probably a mean motherfucker. You don't want to talk to me when I'm like not creating. Well, yeah. David Schoner, who's a friend of mine, he's he's a New Jersey film commissioner. He always talks about being creatively sane. So like when you're not making a movie, like I don't know, go out, take photographs, or make a song on your iPhone, or anything. Write a poem or something. You know what I'm saying? And it's all under one unified aesthetic. So all the work I do, I paint, I do everything. I write everything, poetry, I paint, acrylics, everything. Photography, I dabble and dive in, but I'm always kind of shooting and stuff. But it's all under one unified aesthetic. Like it's all the same. Like if I'm directing an opera, or if I, jump on a pogo stick and film it for YouTube or something. Like it's all the same thing. It's all under the same aesthetic. Like
that's something interesting. I always grew up with this mentality that art, creating anything, it's not like, oh, if I want to be a filmmaker, I need to learn filmmaking. If I want to learn music, I need to learn music. If I want to do this, like all those skills are transferable.
Right.
Whenever, like, if I'm playing music or I'm editing a piece for a film, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
So everybody's like, oh, you shouldn't be a jack of all trades because you're not going to master anything. I'm like, no,
I don't think that's true.
It's all the same thing.
Yeah. Especially because in filmmaking, it's all the art forms.
Yeah,
So
it's visual, it's sound, it's set dressing, that's painting and set design. That's its own thing. It's like you have to know everything.
Yeah.
Like you should be studying. Like, especially recently, the least things I've been reading or what are about filmmaking. I'm trying to learn about life and like what, you know, I don't know, how to build this table.
Yeah.
You know, I think because, we need a table. All right, let's fucking build one because we need it for the movie or something. You know what I'm saying? It's like sometimes getting sucked into the world. I think that's why I never moved to LA, because everybody out there is like, you know, everybody's a filmmaker, everybody's an artist, and when you get wrapped up in a world of like everybody's an artist, like I like seeing the guy who, you know, drops the mail off every day, or the coffee guy down the block.
Yeah.
I don't want to like meet the coffee guy who like is trying to be an actress or something. You know what I'm saying? Or like an actor or something. Like I want to be around like real. Not that I'm saying that artists aren't real. That's not what I'm trying to say. I just mean like something that's like not sucked into a world of like, oh, how can we like do this, or like there's an artistic piece to it.
I find that people around here, at least my impression of it, is people are always like, the artists here are pushing to make their art.
Yeah.
They're not just letting things get by.
But it's a thing where it's like, all right, I'll shoot for you. You come act in my thing for free.
That.
Or it's like favors. And I feel like out there's like less of that. But I never lived there. I could be talking about shit that I don't know.
No, you're right. Like
I've been over there too. Yeah.
I think
we've
both been there. I did my own travels going back and forth.
Right.
I'm Canadian, so I don't actually work down there, but
right.
I've been able to talk to people. I've been able to see people, and it always seemed like everybody's just pushing their brand. Everybody's really good at marketing.
Yeah.
But it is very hard to be an artist there. It's very hard to actually complete the project.
Right.
So you see less and less people having the skills to start and finish a project.
Right.
Are there directors like that out there? Are there artists like that out there? Yes, definitely.
Right.
It's just harder.
Right.
Because everything's more expensive.
Hey.
Filmmaking is expected there.
Right.
So you always have to pay a premium for getting locations or actors or anybody. And I come from Montreal, where there's no premium. Sometimes you can just kind of get a location because you know a person. Sure, that's easy, but you can just sometimes ask and get the location and be like, yeah, cool, because people don't expect filmmaking.
Right.
I find New York somewhere in the middle.
Jersey's like that too, because it's like, you know, even in trap, like there was times where like we just showed up and shot. There was no like calling anybody. There wasn't it's like, no, we're just gonna do this.
Yeah, that's a vibe that we do.
Yeah, I think Herzog says a quote like, ask for forgiveness, not permission.
Yeah.
And I always kind of took.
I think I just used this week. I don't know if I said it to you or somebody, but I said that this week. That mentality. I love it.
I was just telling the story before somebody. We were shooting I'm a DP. And I was being hired to do a 35mm project.
Oh, shit.
And there's two main highways in Montreal. There's 20, there's 40. And the 40 is called the Trans-Canada Highway, right? And somewhere in one of the main intersections along the Carry. Anyways, just painting. This is the one of the connections that helps bring you downtown, helps you bring through one of the main cities, NDG. So it's like, it's right underneath there we set up. We had like 5 cars, a generator, a couple of several like very hot lights. It's filmed, so I had a loader, I had an AC, I had about 4 guys on camera, including me running Steadicam under this bridge. No permission. We just went and we shot it. And I remember there's a cop going by, and at one point I look at Ricky, and I'm like,
you
know,
take care
and
of that,
they just kind of like nothing.
Right.
And I was just always like, you can't get away with that
Right.
in other cities like you can. Even
Yeah.
in Toronto and New York and
Right.
West, definitely what I've seen in
The city's
LA.
pretty easy to get as long as you're not on the subway putting a tripod down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard about
that.
that.
You can get away with a lot of stuff.
Well, this was also a bridge on top of that. Like
Yeah,
if
it's
you
wild.
shoot on a bridge
Right.
around here, I hear there's like a lot of trouble you can
Well,
get
Jersey, that actually happened was we did a short, and I was with the DP. Me and the DP were walking on the bridge, and yeah, a bunch of cops pulled up, and they were like, "Yeah, trying to ID me." Yeah, it was a nightmare. We didn't get arrested, luckily, but it was above the Garden State Parkway, and they were like, "What are you guys doing?"
Yeah.
But like we went, the director should have had everybody wait, and it should have just been me and the DP. But
Jesus.
people make.
What was that for this
problems.
movie?
No, this was for
This
like a
one-
short that never came out.
That
wild,
happens.
Yeah.
But shoot, so freaking awesome, man. Do you want to tell us the quickly what the plot is of your film?
Well, I fucking hate plot.
Oh, sorry.
But, what can I say? What
If
did
you
I
wanna
say?
tell
What did I
people
start
about
with?
it.
The amalgamation. I mean, it's an amalgamation of stories about Asbury Park, but yeah, it's basically multiple stories. It takes place like it's about like two sister thieves, a group of violent street kids, the Curb character, which I play, which he's looking back at his life story, and then the story of Detective Bronson chasing Curb's character. So it's like these like three separate stories that kind of intertwine.
It's brilliant.
Amazing.
Yeah, really sort of like City of God in a lot of ways.
I love
Oh,
City,
sick.
I love City of God. There's also this movie Pashot. I don't know if you saw it. It's a Hector Babenka film from 1980.
I'm pulling out my
But it's
phone.
called
I'm
Pashot. It's a
That'd be
Brazilian
like
film,
a
and
movie night.
the kids in the flick were executed by the Brazilian
Oh,
death
geez.
squads after the movie came out, and they say it's because of the movie. Kind of like what happened with Pasolini and Solo. Like they say he was kind of murdered because of his film.
How you spell Pashot?
Pixote.
X-O-T. Oh, okay. I see it.
Hector Babenka.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure. I mean, it's like it's dark. Like, be prepared to watch like a fucked up movie.
Because we're doing a movie night.
Yeah. I mean, we watched your movie and loved it, and that's a fucked up.
That would be
movie,
a
so.
crazy double feature. I would do a double feature: Trap and Pashot.
There you go.
Do you think
Fucking
about that? Do you
midnight
think of
feature.
like what movies would pair well with your films?
Yeah, all the
Yeah.
time, man.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I love shit like that. I love when a filmmaker can. I saw recently, Ari Aster was doing like a week of programming at the New York Film Academy,
Oh, cool.
and he was like, I got all these movies that I programmed alongside his own movies, and I was,
Yeah.
and then it got me thinking. I was like, what movies would I program?
That's
for
cool.
my movie?
Abel Ferrara did that at the Cinema Village. He did like he was showing a retrospective of all his films, but he put like El Topo in there and movies that inspired him growing up, Texas Chainsaw Massacre or whatever.
I love shit like that.
All these
I was
cool-
Texas Chainsaw. It's funny you said that. I was thinking, your movie joined a list of like 3 other films that I could think of. One was Natural Born Killers. One was Texas Chainsaw. The other was yours, where it feels like the main character made the movie. You know, like the headspace. Like Texas Chainsaw Massacre feels like it was made by Leatherface. That feels like a fucked up,
Right.
messed up movie. And this was like, Curb was the guy.
Yeah, Curb.
Curb. It feels like Curb made that movie, which I
Right.
guess in a lot of ways he
It
did.
kind of is, and my nickname was growing up was Curb, so
Yeah.
it's kind of like a reflection of.
So,
sort of
but
myself.
it feels that way of
Right.
like the insanity that he's living is the DNA of the movie,
Right.
you know. And I was
like you're looking behind his lens, like that's
Yeah, like
that's
you're
almost
looking in
Curb's
his
holding
eyes.
the camera,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
that's the difference between like going through like this like almost documentary and fiction way, because there's
Yeah.
not any real like truth. I'm not really chasing like a truth. I don't want to tell anything that's real. I'm trying to like turn truth on its head a little
well,
bit.
you're not stating facts, but you're telling truth. You know what I mean? Like there's
Right.
an emotional truth
But
to
it's
everything.
there's a certain sense of realness because it's a lot of the characters are in it is who it's sort of about. So
Yeah.
it's interesting. It's a hard movie to. It's almost like when I made it, I was almost like fuck genre, like because it's hard to put a genre to the flick.
Yeah.
It's like it's everything.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes like somebody will watch it and be like, oh, this feels like an art house film, or somebody will be like, oh, it's like a crime thriller, or it's like this. So.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Or it has horror elements. It has everything.
Yeah.
I feel like so.
Well, I was telling my brother who's doing the camera work right now. He's my partner. I immediately after I got out, I was like, dude, you have to see this movie. He's like, what's it about? I was like, I can't tell you. Like, I
Yeah,
have
I
no
don't know.
clue.
I don't know.
I
I
just
like
spent
that.
2 hours
though.
watching. Oh my God,
like that
I love
people
it too.
Fucking can say it like, I don't know, just fucking
You
watch it.
just gotta watch
dude.
it. Like, I have no idea what this.
Yeah.
This is a flavor I've never tasted before. You
Yeah.
just have to watch it.
But that's what I'm saying, because I think there's so much noise in the world. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes people make movies for the wrong reasons, where they're, because if I was trying to get rich or famous, I sure as fuck wouldn't be making movies.
Yeah, no.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like, I feel like there's too much noise, so I feel like I just try to be bold. And Kubrick always said like about reinventing the cinema, so I always kind of like always do that, because the novel has been written, think about it, 1,000 different ways. The novel's been written hundreds of ways. How come film has kind of been in this like sort of group of like act 1, act 2, act 3? Why do we have to?
Well, it's in its infancy, really, if you think
Right.
about.
And it's only what 100 years
100 years old
110
versus
years
how long
It's
a
one of the
novel's been
shortest.
around.
Right.
Yeah, it's one of the shortest mediums
Right.
that's been around.
Right.
Yeah.
So why are we so slow with developing this thing? It's like, nah, let's tell story. Like,
Well, it's filmmakers like you that are gonna push it. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's
man.
people always pushing the envelope.
Right.
And it's good to see that exists in this generation too. You know.
Yeah, I think it's important. Like, it's like, don't just make something just because you want it. It's like, how can, and I don't want to say that in a way. It's like, how can we be different? Because then you start to feel like a hipster or something. Like, oh, how can we be different? Oh, I want to be different from all you motherfuckers. Like, it's like, nah. It's like, it's not about that. It's just like telling like a deep part of your soul and like not wanting to, like, I don't know.
And I think there's like
blinded by
wanting to be
rules.
different for the sake of being different, and then there's like, well, the boundaries of the art form, the way I see it, aren't fit for the story I want to tell.
Right.
And so you kind of have to push the boundaries to make room for your story.
Yeah, I like how you said that.
Because there's a story in here, you know, and I work in every medium, you know, and so I'm always like, is this a movie? Is this a song? Is this a painting?
Right.
You know, whatever. And so I think you kind of have to work with the medium and sort of against the medium at the same time.
And that goes under the unified aesthetic thing we were
Exactly.
talking about. It's like, whether you write a song or sing a jingle or do a tap dance over there in the corner, it's all the same thing.
Well,
Me doing a tap dance in the corner and you watching Trap is the same fucking thing, because it
Yeah.
comes from me. It's coming from in here. It's like all this experience of life and all this
It's
whatever.
giving perspective.
Right.
Yeah.
It's different.
I consider, like, I don't get stressed about the individual artwork. Like, is this expressing what I want? Because I consider my life my great artwork. You know, from the moment I'm born to the moment I die. And everything I do, I'm painting on the canvas of time. You know what I mean? And so...
That's fucking...
That's deep, man.
Damn, bro. Fucking...
We got that.
Dropped it.
Jesus.
Like, cut the cameras, bro. That was fucking heavy shit, bro. Damn, bro. I needed a sip of water after that one. That shit was some heavy shit, bro.
That's just the shit I think about sometimes, you know?
No, it's important, though.
It's very important to look at artwork as a way of it's self-expression, right? But I think you're right. I never worry about how much of myself is going to come out in a piece. I know that it's just going to come out. That's just from experience. I know for new filmmakers and the ones I talk to, they're, they might be worried about that stuff. Let's like, how do I tell this, or how does this person reflect this, or how do I write what I know? That's what a lot of screenwriters always write about. And you're taking an aspect of that. I mean, as people, but you're not literally writing this person or that person.
Right.
You're not taking all the aspects. That's what you were saying earlier. You are painting an environment that you're used to.
Right.
Yeah.
Something, you were birthed into, or something. You're right. What else do I know?
Well, just
besides
looking
that,
at you, just talking to you, and just seeing when I saw the movie, it like I could see this coming from you. I could see you being the one who directed this.
Yeah.
And put this all together.
It's very intentional, your work, man. And I don't think that's easy to do, to bring an honest intentionality to everything, from the set deck to the performances to the writing to the cinematography to the editing to the sound design. There's such unique intentionality behind everything.
Right. And it's a thing where it's like, damn, my fucking thought just fucking lost my fucking brain. I've been rambling on too long. But it's a thing where it's like, a movie like Trap is very important because it's just my voice. Like, I don't have producers to listen to. You know, I paid for the movie myself. I didn't have any. That's why, like, films like Trap are important to keep around, because a movie like that can't really exist a lot of the time, especially when there's money involved, when there's fucking bigger name actors. They want to change stuff. They want to do stuff. It's like, nah, it was like that shit was going through me. You know what I'm saying? It's like I get final cut, I get final say, because I don't have anybody else to look up to, like, during that. It's like, oh, I'm not a, you know what I'm saying? I'm the fucking one, like, making it happen, you know? And I did everything, like, you know?
If you do more movies, would you want to move up? And I say up, I think that's relative, because both sides have.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Not do everything my fucking self. I see what you're trying to mean.
Would you want to do those kind of films, or would you rather do, have that control, have that ability to make all those decisions? Because you're doing it very well. You don't necessarily need a lot of producers telling you to create your vision. You just did it.
Right. But rather than, like, fucking destroying my body to do that, yeah, I would rather fucking have it, like, the next one's have a DP, but I have money attached, but it's money where it's I don't have to fucking listen to anybody. It's like I can just do, it's gonna be another thing where I'll have creative control. And I just, like, I feel like if I direct a film, because the movies take so much out of me in my life and everything, I feel like it's important that, like, I'll be able to tell what I want, because otherwise I'd probably just not want to do it. I can go do something else or make money elsewhere, or fucking go back to working in a sex club or something.
Yeah. No, I feel you. That's awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man.
I appreciate you guys. This is probably, like, my favorite talk I've had about this. This was cool.
This is my favorite thing we've done all week, was talking to you.
This was cool.
This is what it's about.
Because it's not just, like, you know, a lot of people ask, like, the origin story. You know,
Oh, we're getting into it.
You start. Yeah. But we covered all bases, like, you know what I'm saying?
We covered everything.
Yeah, that's why I like having this little space up here, because we can.
It feels chill. I feel like I'm sitting in my mom's kitchen or something. You know what I'm
grab
saying?
a couple of beers, bring them over.
Yeah. I don't drink, but I'll roll up some weed or something.
I'll do both. I'll share a beer with you and a joint with you, and we'll have a good night.
Everybody's happy, yeah.
Rock and rolling.